Alrighty, welcome to the TF360 installment of the TF history series. We're up to 60 cards already. I can't believe I managed to keep this series going, to be honest. But yeah, I know technically this one isn't released, but enough people have it. I think I need to do something about it, and it's significant because it was the first 60 card I did. And for the other cards, I'm going to do like TF status videos rather than TF histories. And yeah, so this actual card in my hand right now is the first 060 board I ever developed. It is the TF360 Rev 0. I think it still has a pretty decent 060 in there. I haven't turned this on for a while, this particular one, but yeah, so the design of this one is again, it's like if you look at the other ones, you can see where the lineage is, but this is my first was my first attempt at an 060 card. The idea was that just an experiment, really, just to try and find a way of taking some of the pain out of the usual routes that people have to, and usual routes and hoops that people have to go through to do an 060 card. For example, this is the number of chips that you need on an A3660 card, or that type of an 060 card generally needs that many chips. So the idea was to try and reduce most of that logic into this. This is a RAM controller with a wee bit of smarts. Similar role in the RAM controller to the rest of the TF series. And this one is the bus translation. So it's got it does the entire data bus and address bus translation. So this has got 32 bits of data bus in, 32 bits of data bus out, doing the translation, because it's not a straight bus. You have to for one cycle of this, you might have to do multiple cycles of the Amiga bus. So this chip handles that. The SD RAM over here can be 128 meg or 64 meg, just like all the other ones, really. Same chips, and you kind of get at this point a feeling why the builders kind of liked sticking to what they know, because all the cards had very similar chips, very similar. If you had a bin of these guys and these chips, you could pick up and you could use it to build any one of these cards. So yeah, so this one was I remember I think this is a 2019 card. Yeah, 2019. So I remember getting this guy up and running and having a lot of trouble with the RAM controller and MMU-lib, and getting quite a bit of help from Thor. Basically, anything I asked for, any tests he could suggest. He was very generous with his time about that. Managed to get this up and running eventually, and then kind of promptly dropped it for the next card in the series. But development has continued. The reason this one wasn't released at the same time as the 1200 version of it was because the CD drive wasn't working. That limitation has been overcome now. We're just looking at overclocking issues, so it shouldn't be long to get it out there. So that's the Rev 0. That was the first version. Some patch wires, as you can see. I had to fix some mistakes, and then we moved up to I think this is the Rev 2, which has something I call a NOTPORT on it, which is not a Clockport. It looks like a Clockport and kind of works a bit like a Clockport, but compatibility is not guaranteed, so I called it a NOTPORT, sorry. So yeah, and also moving up to the Rev 2, we've got the ESP header again, just like on the TF330, so you can get simple internet on there. I think and we have on this version of the board, we have now a clock multiplier, and this is the first. In fact, that's a change between the Rev 0 and the Rev 2 actually. The clock multiplier. This was the first board that had the clock multiplier. This allowed software selectable CPU speeds. which was kind of an experiment for me at the time. I did not know if that was going to work. I had no idea if it was even going to be possible, but I thought, you know what, let's try it, let's get on with it. So that chip takes in a clock frequency of I think it's 25 megahertz. Probably you guys can see that better than I can with my eyes these days. And then it multiplies the clock up to whatever you want. It can do a 2 times a multiplier, a 3 times multiplier. It does all sorts of 0.3, 3.3, 3.125, all these kinds of things. And there's 3 pins on the CPLD that select that. And they needed to go through a 10K, I think it's a 10K. It needed to go through a 10K resistor, otherwise I couldn't get it to float reliably, because the 3 pins are tri-state values, so they can float high or low, and there's like a table that tells you float high, low. Pick one of those 3. Pick one value for each of the 3, and you'll get a multiplier out the other end. So that's how that chip works. I was quite happy with that, and a lot of the parts of the design on this have carried on to later boards, especially that. Much more complicated than the 030 cards. Much more logic required. Two big badass CPLDs, and they're both full. And all of the kind of logic that for the bus translation was condensed down into one chip, which I was really happy about. And all of that info can be found in the 68040 Developer's Handbook. If anybody's wanting to try their hand or figure out or go and have a look at how insane the state machines that you need to have to translate between the two, they're all in the 68040 Developer's Handbook. You can have a look at that and see. And that's been my Bible for this guy, and this other stuff, it's all the RAM controller. Burst RAM on this. So this guy will go up to 100 megahertz. I have had this one running at 100 megahertz, and full burst RAM. So in theory, so the sort of RAM bandwidth capability is 400 megabytes a second, but in practice you can't get that because you have to open the row. So if you were to read the same page over and over and over and over and over, you could get 400 megabytes a second. But the first one is too slow. Practically you get 85 megabytes a second, which is, I think, pretty spectacular for an Amiga of this era. So for an Amiga, an Amiga from the 90s. So yeah, the upcoming changes, things that are going to be in the Rev 3, are I flipped the Clockport about because it was annoying to have to rise it like that, so the orientation will change. And there was something I'd noticed was a problem with the reset setup, so I had a couple of little things that went on the 1260 that I backported. So it's not far away. In fact, it's ready. I just got to find some money to actually order it. So yeah, so that's that one, and that's the status of it, I guess. Trying to think if there was any other interesting things that I can remember about this board while I was rooting it. It's kind of lacking in insulting remarks, oddly for me. Nothing too bad. I think there's some stupid things down there about, yeah. Oh yeah, I remember getting a lot of comments that say there's not enough decoupling caps. There's enough decoupling caps. These are all pre-assembled by the board house, so that makes our life a lot easier. Anything I could flip over to the bottom side of the board, I did. So there you go. That's the TF360. Yeah, rattling through these guys now. So there'll be another one tomorrow. If you like the video, hit that like button. If you want to get notified about the next one, hit subscribe and ring the bell and all that sort of stuff. And yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Take care and have a good one.